Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Desi Sportscast. Yes, after a few weeks away, we're back, and after a short break, we're back with our regular shows, and it's really good to be back. Um, and we're going to start off the new season of the podcast with a review of Tokyo 2020. And I could not be more happy to have two guests, friends, I would say now, from our previous shows. And I was lucky enough to see the coverage of Sony 10 Sports and the experts they had, but I really don't think you could get better than these two people. So if there's media houses watching for the next Olympics and next big shows, get these two guys on because I am really, really fortunate to have them on this podcast with their knowledge and expertise and what they share. So firstly, let me introduce, well, he doesn't need an introduction. Shubhashish, welcome again to the show. Happy Independence Day to you, my friend. How are you?
Thanks so much for having me on, Bharat. Happy Independence Day to you too. Yes, it's been great. It's been a historic moment for Indian hockey and for Indian sport as well over the past 2 or 3 weeks. Firstly, when people were actually looking forward to the event, and also the results that have been put forward. So, a great sporting fortnight for Indian hockey and for Indian sport, I would say.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's something that we're going to talk about because, quite rightly, it's something that we've been praying and hoping for I don't know how many years. And, it finally true. Came through as well, and we'll start off the show with speaking of that. But let me also introduce another colleague and friend of the show, Vishank. So happy to see you again, my friend. Happy Independence Day to you. How are you?
Happy Independence Day to you too, Bharat. I'm fine. I'm doing just good. Uh, yeah, enjoyed the Olympics. It was pretty good. The best medal haul India has ever had, and yeah, hopefully good things are lined up for Indian sports in the future.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And when we did the previous show with Vishank, I stuck my neck out with a prediction. It wasn't quite there, but I'm still happy with what how it ended up. It didn't even get to 50% of my prediction, but like we said at that show, even to predict that number of medals was something because they were realistic chances. But we'll get through all that in the rest of the show. But let me just start off by just asking you about Independence Day because living here in the UK, obviously we don't have an Independence Day for obvious reasons, but we see the big day that happens in America, which is the biggest one that we associate ourselves with, the 4th of July, and it's a huge occasion. I'll start off with you, Subhash. How is the day normally in India in terms of today?
Well, Bharat, when we were back in school, it was a day where, we had flag hoisting functions, etc., with a couple of speeches, a lot of patriotic fervor in the air. And I also remember, we had to get to school even if Independence Day fell on a Sunday, like, like it did today. But it was a lot of fun. I think even now, there is a lot of patriotic fervor associated with Independence Day. Uh, but I do miss the days in school because those were special. Uh, there's a slight difference since you mentioned the 4th of July. I think in America, it's more to do with there's a very celebratory mood about the American Independence Day. Uh, in India, it's more to do with a lot of patriotic fervor and lots of patriotic feelings, etc., with movies and patriotic songs playing on the television channels, lots of speeches made, etc. And a great occasion, nevertheless. And for someone who hasn't experienced it, someone coming from abroad, I'm sure they would love to be part of the August 15th day in India. It would be a nice spectacle for them, to be involved in the Independence Day in some way or the other.
Absolutely, and 2 days on my bucket list is so long. I don't think I'll be living long enough to fulfill it. But 2 days that I hope I get to witness our Republic's Day and Independence Day. Vishank, do people treat it as just another holiday? Well, it's a Sunday, but if it was on a weekday, another holiday, or is it a special day? And it was really special today having the sportsman at the Red Fort.
Yeah, that was actually a very good thing to have all these Olympians at the Red Fort. For me, I think Independence Day corresponds to good food in the mess when I back in the college days. We had these very beautiful mithais of tricolor and
Wow.
a good time with friends, hang out and enjoy like they do back in the US. We usually had good time in the college, and even in the school we had pretty decent time. And we had these runs in the college, 1.5 2 kilometer runs, where we will travel across the college or school and have those fun moments. Yeah, I actually think this is a huge thing for inviting all the sports persons, especially on the in the Red Fort on this big day, on this big occasion. So I think it would have been a pretty good experience for all the members of the Indian contingent. And yeah, let's see how it pans out from here on. I think all the steps are in the right direction as far as Indian sports are concerned. Uh, yeah.
And we say that all the this is a very special day that brings the nation together. But something that does bring the nation together is sports and success in sports. Any day of the week, or any time of the year, when we have that success, you don't need a special day. It just brings the whole nation to the as one, as it were, in celebration. And we've just witnessed that with the performances at Tokyo for quite a few of our athletes that brought the whole nation together. Hopefully, you'll be able to share what the reaction was. I've seen it here on the media and some of the YouTube clips, and it's fantastic to see. And it's something that we do on a regular basis when our sportsmen perform at these huge stages. But I have to start with hockey and what I still class as our national game. It's not cricket. Hockey is our national game. And in England, we have this song for every single time there's a major tournament, the Euros, the World Cup. It's coming home. It's coming home. It hasn't come home yet. We nearly got there this year, but finally, in hockey, it did come home. Subhashish, we did the previous show, and we said it was not going to be easy. The teams at the top, even the top 10, there's not much difference, and it's on the day. But the boys came through, and what a performance!
What a performance, indeed, Bharat. And
Oh, before you say Subhashis, I should say boys and girls. I'll correct
absolutely.
myself.
And I think, well, the girls outdid the boys by some measure because, well, the FIH went ahead and revised the rankings midway through the tournament. So the Indians were world number three, uh, midway through the tournament. So they've done justice to their ranking, I would say, by picking up the bronze medal. Also, Bharat, it didn't start that well. So that the change in the script actually added to the excitement because they started off with, I would say, a nervy 3-2 win against New Zealand, a win which didn't inspire too much confidence. I wouldn't say they looked like a team on the way to the podium. Then there was the 1-7 defeat against Australia, which was shocking to say the least because we haven't lost to Australia by that big a margin for quite some time now. We did in the past, that was until maybe 2010, even 2014 maybe, but we've come pretty close to Australia. And, people like me, we've actually told a lot of our friends, our colleagues, people who don't usually watch hockey to watch that match, and it's going to be pretty close. It's going to be a humdinger, and you know, I don't know. We were in the match, and there was a PC from Harmanpreet Singh which struck the post, and after that, it was Australia all the way. And I actually spoke to some experts after the match, asking for their reactions. But they actually told me that it was just a bad day in the office and that the Indians would come back. If you actually care to look to, have a look at the match again, it was just that, when you're playing with a really big team, it's okay when you're down by one goal, a difference of one goal. When it gets to two, you're in trouble. And, that could have happened to Australia as well. And I say that with some confidence because the Australians did struggle against the Dutch as well in the quarterfinals. So it was just that when you get to a two-goal difference and the other team starts attacking, you have a lot of gaps at the back. And for a team like Australia, they're gonna just exploit the gaps in a big way. So that's what happened in the match against Australia. But I think the boys picked themselves up pretty well because in a tournament like the Olympics, if you suffer a big defeat, it's not often that you see a team come back the way the Indians did, against Spain, against Argentina as well, two back-to-back wins. And I think it changed that. That was the dramatic change in the script. And well, against Japan, we were already through, but we did pretty well. Uh, Another thing, Bharat, is that for those who watched the matches pretty closely, the Indians were not playing their A game in the group stages. They had saved a bit for later, like the great teams did in the past. If you look at teams like Australia, Germany, and the Netherlands, the ones who were on top of world hockey in the past, in the group stages, they never really stepped up the gears, but they always found a way to win through what you'd call a lot of mundane stuff. But when you get to the knockouts, that's where you surprise the opposition and raise your game. I think the Indians did that pretty well because when they came at Great Britain pretty hard, and I think on the whole it was a pretty one-sided match against Great Britain, except for the last quarter when GB really pushed hard, but they were pretty much out of the contest by then, and it's not so much that GB played badly. I think it's just that the Indians played Great Britain out of the contest in the first 45 minutes. And, even though there was a lot of pressure in the last 15 minutes, there was nothing they could have done. Also, I think as far as the PCs were concerned, it was Rupinder Pal Singh who began in the group stages, and a lot of people thought that Rupinder Pal Singh was going to be India's primary PC taker, but that wasn't to be because Harmanpreet Singh took over later in the competition. So I think these are things Graham Reed did pretty well. Harmanpreet didn't come forward in the initial matches. That was India's trump card, and it was Rupinder who did the work initially. And Harmanpreet came and surprised everyone with 6 goals. I think that's pretty remarkable. So I think the Indians did very well, and I think they could have gone further as well, because in the match against Belgium, I think it was pretty even until the penalty stroke, which Belgium earned. I'm not going into the controversy part of it because I think it's unfair on the umpires. But I would say it was the penalty stroke which was the turning point, and had Belgium not got the penalty stroke, it was a match which could have gone either way, and who knows, we could have uh, won silver or gold in Tokyo. But I mean, we played really well against Germany as well, and the bronze medal came. They really came hard at India. They tried every trick in the book, including things that Germans don't usually do. They got really physical,
Mm.
they were temperamental, they threw the odd tantrum uh, at the umpires, etc. But, you know, all credit to the Indians because, again, Bharat, we're looking at a team who've often been told that they choke on the big stage and they choke in the big matches. They don't have big match temperament, and here they were in a bronze medal match. against a team like Germany. So I think it was a stupendous performance in the end. And well, as far as the girls are concerned,
Let me just
again, there was
before we get on to the quite right, because we need to speak about the women's team. But Vishank, just looking at the group stage and just picking up on a couple of points that Subhashish made, I was really happy with the win against New Zealand because we're usually slow starters in
Yeah,
Olympic group stages. So I was really happy with any sort of a win. And then when we had that game against Australia, and I saw the comments about a bad day at the office, I just sort of had it in my head that we're not playing our A game because we're going to play the Australians in the latter stages, and we'll save our A game against them for that. So that was my excuse for that performance. But it says something about this squad to come back from that. It is a humiliation. Let's face it, 7-1 for a
it is.
top-ranking nation. It was
Uh,
amazing.
but but let me tell you one thing. The thing is that I think this 1-7 defeat against the Australians is the best thing that could have happened to Indian hockey at that point in time, because it happened in the group stage, very early in the group stage. So that is the time when you can, when the chips are down and you recollect, regroup, and kind of recoup and get up from the ashes, like from the phoenix. So that is the way how they did it. And I think had that not happened, and had that happened in the quarterfinal stage that we had discussed in the previous show as well, that I need them to peak at the quarterfinal stage. I don't care if they are fourth in their group. I don't care about that. I want them to show their A game in the quarterfinal stage. Had they been in the third spot or fourth spot, I don't care. But if they bring out their A game, they have the potential to beat any team in the world. 1-7 defeat against the Australians. Again, they were Indians were attacking, and all the goals that Australians scored were off the counter attack. So that can happen. Those things can happen, and but that humiliation is the thing that brought the best out of them. Say Spain, Argentina, Japan, uh, even against Britain, the Great Britain team. They lost against Belgium again. The margin should not be the cause of concern here. The margin is 2-5 again because they were attacking when they were down 3-2. So counterattacks can happen, and goals can be considered in that at that point in time. But their best game, I think, everything was correct in the against the German team. They actually the trapping was excellent. Their circle penetrations were brilliant. Their shots on goal were on target were they, I think, scored 4 goals in the span of 8 or 7 minutes. From they were 3-1 down, I guess, and then from there the team made a 5-3 comeback, which speaks volume of the team. Actually, they know when to actually put that foot on the pedal, and when the opposition team is kind of in a jiffy or they are not doing their best, they seized that opportunity and they went 5-3 up, and that was the point. I think that actually kind of sealed the game for the Indian team. A bronze medal to savor, I would say, that has to be the thing, and they need to improve on this. The thing is that after 2012, when they lost all their matches in the Olympics, they have actually steadily made those baby steps. It's the same with the Belgian model as well. They were nowhere in the fray, say at 2010 or 2009, but they had a plan, they had a vision, which was to make a team of the magnitude of, say, Australia. Now Australia, then there used to be Netherlands and Germany as well. The German team was pretty strong. They had that vision, and they worked day in and day out to reach that position. Same thing with the Indians. They took out. There was a major reshuffle around 2012 when a lot of senior members were actually shown the door, and I think that again was is a bold move when you back your youngsters to bring all these medals, all these glorious medals. So I think we have done it, and we have shown how it is done. Now the thing is that they need to again regroup for bigger tournaments. World Cup is coming, and Asian Games. They will be the opportunity to qualify for 24 Olympics. So I think the team is on the right way, and I am expecting. Uh, far better things from the Indian men's hockey team, and we'll talk about the female team as well.
Absolutely, because we need to, give the women just as much coverage after their performance. But Subhashish, just on the the team and how it's developed, you've watched a lot of hockey, but the mental toughness and the fitness in those conditions is something that we never used to have. And to come back from that 7-1 defeat, obviously it takes a lot, but then to beat Spain comfortably, to beat Argentina, both very good teams in their own right, and Great Britain. Great Britain were thinking they've got a medal chance, even though the rankings don't suggest that. It shows the progression this team has made. And how much credit does Coach Reed take for this?
Well, definitely, Coach Reed can expect a lot of the credit, especially since he's taken a lot of flack as well for the team selections. Uh, he's done something really bold by selecting a very young team. Not a lot of people thought they would be able to take the pressure of the Olympics. In fact, Bharat, it's one of the youngest teams in Tokyo among the entire hockey, among all the 12 hockey teams. If you actually compare the experience of the Indians to the Belgians or the Argentinians, you know I would say they have just one third the experience which Belgium, Argentina, and even Spain do. Uh, from a fitness perspective, I think it was just amazing the way the boys regrouped and let's forget the Australia match, but post that, and of course mental toughness as well. But again, it all started with. I would say it started in 2016 with Harendra Singh, and he did a really good job with the youngsters, uh, and they won their World Cup, the Youth World Cup. So I think it started there, and the groundwork was done there. A lot of these, the same members have actually now come up and doing well at the senior level. Uh, but again, I wouldn't. That's one reason. A lot of us were actually bold enough to say that what this team has done, and even though it's a bronze medal, is perhaps, I would say, on par with what the team of Moscow did. That is a lot to say, and not everyone would agree, but I would say that, and I say that with a lot of confidence.
I would disagree with
Not
you there,
just
Subhashish. I think it's better than the Moscow gold.
Yeah, it is.
absolutely, and I'm not just saying it because of the boycott, etc. Leave that aside, but the way the boys played was quite phenomenal, and I think a lot of teams in world hockey will be looking at India now as a major force to reckon with, given the average age of the players, because this team can only get better. You know, if this team can win a bronze medal in the Olympics, they made it to a World Cup quarterfinal as well. Then I would say this team would be maybe on par with Belgium and Australia in a year or two. So it's not so much the fact that we've won a bronze, because there are teams who win medals. You could, if you pass the group stages, then maybe anything can happen in the quarterfinal, and it could be a flash in the pan. In this case, it was not, because this team's been progressing well. They've been progressing gradually, but it's the curve has always been upwards. The rankings improved, and I think Indian hockey has really been fortunate uh, for an Indian hockey fan to see the kind of progress that's happened over the last 5 or 6 years. I wouldn't give the entire credit to Graham Reed, though he has done a stupendous job as well. But it all started, I would say, with Ronald Oltmans. Uh, Harendra Singh also did a phenomenal job, and this is the end result. And Hockey India has often been blamed for changing coaches at the drop of a hat. But they would now stand up and say what we were trying to do
Y-
is to raise the standards perhaps better than most, and if you had to be a bit brutal or ruthless in the process, so be it. I think they're entitled to say that, because a decade ago, if you actually told someone that India would win a medal in hockey, I think they would say you're off your bunkers, especially for a team which didn't even qualify for the Olympics in 2008, finished last in 2012. Uh, it's been quite phenomenal. For people who don't follow hockey that well, they always compare this team to the ones of the past and the 8 gold medals. That was some time back in history. And I think this team, they are the best ones we've had for the last 4 decades. And I hope, at least now, that Hockey India does go a bit slow with the coaches, because you wouldn't want anything to go wrong from here on when the team is doing so well. Yes, but answering your question, it's been fantastic from a fitness perspective as well as from a mental toughness perspective. Quite honestly, Bharat, I haven't seen any Indian hockey team perform this well over the past 2 3 decades, definitely.
Absolutely, and it was the bronze medal match against the Germans, and you don't get tougher mentally or physically than the Germans. And the performance they put in that day, Vishank, it was memorable. It was absolutely memorable. Even going a goal down and the pressure and, like you said, the physicality of the Germans did not, put off the Indians, and they kept their temper under control. In the past we could have got some yellow cards, possibly a green card, because of the physicality of the Germans. But they held their nerve. They had a game plan. They stuck to it.
Yeah. So again, if we see India were 3-1 down, and the thing that would have worked in India's favor would have been the weather of Tokyo. It started 10:30 and the match ended by 12:30. It was hot, sultry, humid, and these are the conditions which actually no team likes, but Indians are more suited to that conditions. So when it was the peak time and peak heat time, that is at the turf, it would have been, I think, it would have been a literal furnace over there. And Indians scored back to back 4 goals. They were like targeting the uh, German goal like anything, German post like anything. They seized those moments quite brilliantly. So even when they were defending, they were marking pretty well. All the German attackers they were marking, and that too outside the circle, more or less. They conceded a couple of penalty corners, which was quite obviously intuitive at that point in time, because the Germans were all coming all guns blazing at them. But kudos to Priya Shrije. He has been a wall of Indian hockey. I mean, he did deserve that medal. I don't know if he's going to come back to Olympics or not, but I hope he does, because he I don't know what is lies after. There are certain players we know that like after Tendulkar we used to say what after Tendulkar. After Dhoni we said what after Dhoni. The same thing. It's the same thing with Srijesh as well. What
Absolutely.
after Srijesh? So
And the analogy
fabulous.
I would use, that he's the Great Wall of India that can be seen from space. He blocks that goal and covers it well. But I have
And
to share that I woke up it was 2 o'clock in the morning here, and normally my routine was watch the Indian performance, then go back to sleep for a couple of day job. After the bronze medal match, I couldn't go to sleep. I was on a high. I was so pumped up. So I just kept on drinking coffee and continued with the day. I didn't go back to sleep. It was an amazing feeling.
it was so apt that Srijesh saved that hand of God,
Yes,
literal hand of God with his. That was
absolutely.
a fantabulous save again.
Yeah, summed
Uh,
up the team at the last minute. Under
exactly,
pressure.
exactly.
Subhashis, all this whole squad and the backroom staff will go down as legends, and I quite rightly, in my opinion, because I rate this bronze medal very, very highly. Is there any player that you would like, or any players that Vishank has obviously mentioned the wall, and you've mentioned Hummonbridge, but the youngsters, they need to be shouted out in terms of the performance they came with.
Absolutely, Bharat. Before I answer that, just a word about the Germany game because we've spoken quite a bit about the Germany game, and something which struck a lot of hockey fans who've watched Germany over the years is that Germany themselves are playing a different game now, because if you notice the way the Germans played in the past, it was a very docile game, not so attacking, which is the reason most games against Germany, whether it was Australia, Germany, India, Germany, the score lines were always 2-1, 1-0, 3-2 at the most. The Germans themselves are playing a different kind of game now. They are more attacking than before, and they've changed the manner in which they play, which is the reason we've had a great bronze medal match. So the Indians were allowed to play their natural game, their free flowing game. The Germans did as well. So, from an Indian point of view, it's difficult to look at it from a neutral perspective because it was a bronze medal match, but I think it was one of the most exciting games of the competition. And if you watch the India Germany game now without the pressure of knowing what's going to happen, it was an absolute hockey classic. Yeah. Now going back to your question, also Bharat, in the past, there's something a lot of people have told me, including Bharat Shetri, who was India's former goalkeeper. He was the captain for 2012. The team at the London Olympics. There used to be two or three star players in the squad. So it used to be the Indian teams from then used to be called the team of heroes and zeros. So there used to be a few players who used to push their weight around, maybe deservedly so, but there also used to be others who never got a second glance. What Graham Reed has done is he's ensured that there are no stars in the squad per se. Now, of course, Srijesh is a veteran, and he's naturally a very flamboyant person. So Srijesh apart, it's a squad. It was a totally a team performance, and you don't have stars in the squad. Let's say like you had a Dhanraj Pillai in the past. If you go back even further, you had people like Zafar Iqbal, Mohammad Shahid, etc. In the present side, when the strikers are in sync, it's the wonderful passing that you see, the one twos, the overlaps, the creating space, etc., which is done so well that you'd compare it to a well-oiled machine. So it's difficult to actually pick out players because as a squad they've clicked amazingly well, and I can't remember any other Indian team which have actually clicked this well as a team without the so-called proverbial star player. That said, I think the strikers definitely deserve a pat on the back because there was no SD Sunil, there was no Akash Deep, there was no Ramandeep Singh as well, and they did struggle in the initial matches, and or if let's say I would say they didn't really come to the party in the initial matches against New Zealand and against Australia as well. But again, they did so on the big stage at the right time. The way Gurjant, for example, in the match against Great Britain, if you remember, we scored three goals from open play. There was not a single goal off a PC. And for a quarterfinal match, I think that was simply phenomenal because until that stage, it looked like the Indians were dependent on PCs. We're getting inside the striking circle, trying to earn that PC and hoping that Rupinder would actually convert. But Graham Reed fooled everyone because that was not the plan for the group stage. Was not to be the plan for the matches post the group stages. So I think Gurjant, Shamsher, Mandeep, they did a phenomenal job up front, and I think Graham Reed would have been under tremendous pressure post the team selections. A lot was written about, a lot was discussed and debated about the Indian forward line, about the young Indian forward line, but they would be able to
Mm.
cope with the pressure. I think they've done remarkably well. I think they've exceeded expectations. Uh, so it augurs really well for the future as well. Uh, I think there is still a few other players knocking on the doors, which is a good thing. But from the Olympics point of view, I think Shamsher, Gurjant, Mandeep, and even Lalit was. Lalit is the only senior player among this squad, and Lalit also was rested for the last match, which goes to show that Graham Reed was, for him, it's all about youth. And these guys have shown that, they have the class to outdo the experienced defensive lineups, the phenomenally experienced defensive lineups of Spain, of Argentina, where you have players, if you actually look at the caps, Bharat, in the Argentine defense, in the Spanish defense, you have defenders who have experience of more than 200 and 300 international caps. So, when you have the class to actually outdo defensive lineups of that stature, I think these guys are going to be on top of the world pretty soon. And they did pretty well against Germany as well. The kind of moves which were manufactured, I think, were quite amazing. In fact, they came to their own against Germany. They didn't seem to be under too much of pressure, uh, you know, with the bronze medal and the history and the X number of years, etc. I think I wouldn't take any names, but for me, the Indian forward line really stood out because not the expectations were low, the pressure for them was pretty high, and they stood up when it mattered the most. And the Indian strikers, for me, are the ones I would always look up to. I would always remember because quite frankly, Bharat, and we've discussed it on the first show as well, post the team selections, about whether this young forward line would be able to actually cope with the enormous pressure of the Olympic Games, and they've done it, and how so.
Yeah, and it bodes really well for 2023. Gives us a lot of
Absolutely.
confidence going into the Asian Games, a lot of confidence going into that competition that we never used to feel, even in the Asian arena, but, I can see the gap now opening up between us and the other Asian nations, and going into the 2023 World Cup, and it's in our home country, so going in with a lot of confidence and hope, and yeah, when you mentioned the federation, you keep everything crossed that they behave and take the right decisions, because they're not renowned for that. Not just the hockey federation, but the other ones as well. But Vishak, they usually say the sequels are never better than the originals, but Chuck there too, I think, is a lot better than the original.
It is so much better than the original. I mean, again, seizing the opportunity, they were humbled in their first three games. The Indian women's hockey team. I mean, coming back in the last couple of minutes to score against the likes of Ireland, playing a good game against South Africa. Again, not peaking at that point in time. They peaked at the right time. That is against the Australians, the mighty Australians, as they would call themselves. And what a game! What a game against the Australians. I mean, you can name. I mean, any everyone in the team was giving their 110% come the quarterfinal, come the knockout stages. Vandana Kataria, Rani Rampal, Savita Punia was like an Devi Durga Mata, saving from left, right, and center. I don't know how she managed all those saves. Again, and then against the Argentinians in the semi-final, I think I saw a couple of opportunities missed by the Indian team, and I was like face palm at that point in time. It was the case of what could have been versus what happened eventually. But against the Britain team, again they were doing pretty well until the last couple of goals that they conceded. They brought their best game. at the right point in time. That was lacking in the Indian hockey. That Bharat, I actually told you previously as well. The thing that lacks with the Indian hockey is the killer instinct. When you actually have to show it, we have more often than not failed. But this pleases me so much. This as an as a fan of Indian hockey, as a fan of hockey as in general as well. You would like teams to give the best hockey or show their best game or skills at the right time point in time. Uh, Indian women team won how many? Two and three matches out of their five, six, seven, eight matches that they played. But all those three matches were so crucial. They were so crucial that they need they should be given a big hand for their performances. That is what uh, defines a great team from a good team. You have to seize the opportunity, and this Indian women's hockey team is a great team. I think come the Commonwealth Games, the Australian team will be seeking revenge on them. But I think it'll be a mouth-watering encounter in Birmingham and in Asian Games as well. I think they have to build upon this momentum and seize their opportunity for at these games, so that again they qualified very late for the Olympics. Had they qualified in the Asian Games, it would have given them a much better or a much bigger chance to prepare for the Olympics. Now they have to actually try to win this at the Asian Games, so that they qualify for the Olympics, and then try and build try various permutations and combinations, various striker combinations, various goalkeepers. Also they should try at different points in time, so that uh, they get the perfect combination come 2024. And this team has the potential to go one better at the 24 Olympics, and hopefully they do it as well. Let's see how they go.
Absolutely. Subhashish, again, you mentioned the age of the men's team. This is a very young women's team as well. But the result against Australia will go down in my opinion, not only hockey folklore but Indian sporting folklore. Surely.
Well, Bharat, but being quite honest, it was not a result. I was pleased at the result. It wasn't a result that astounded me because we have been doing well. If you actually followed the matches that the Indian women's team have played over the last 2 or 3 years, they've got closer and closer to the top teams. Now, for example, if you actually looked at the Commonwealth Games semi-finals against Australia, we were pretty much there. We were there in the contest. They won by a lone goal. It was a controversial goal, which the girls still haven't forgotten. It was a Grace Stewart goal. It could have been called a dangerous ball. It wasn't. And a 1-0 defeat. It was a pretty close game at Gold Coast in 2018. Also in the Commonwealth Games, the Indians beat England in the group game. Of course, lost the bronze medal game. So, you know, I, I, I always felt that the rankings, didn't justify the potential of the team because they were number 10, and but we playing like possibly a number 6 or a number 7. Uh, I think what was phenomenal was not the fact that they did so well. I always thought they had the capacity to win, but coming back from 3 defeats isn't easy. You know, the draw was actually announced. This was in November 2019, and the moment the draw came out, we actually looked at the draw and said it's going to be Netherlands up front. The Indians are going to play Netherlands, and Germany, Great Britain. So that's going to be pretty tough.
They were the
But
medalists in
even
Rio.
if you look, yes. So if you look at the first game against the Netherlands, Netherlands went up 1-0 and Rani Rampal equalized, and we actually held the Netherlands for quite a while in the first half, and I think that itself was a phenomenal achievement because no other team in the Olympics, Bharat, has been able to, match the Netherlands even in the semi-finals. They actually cruised to a pretty a magnificent win over GB. I mean, GB had no chance whatsoever in that particular match. It was only the Argentinians which gave them a bit of a fight in the finals. It was 3-1. That was also to do with Gonzalo Pea and his coaching instincts. But to actually put up a fight against the Netherlands the way they did in the first half, I think that was phenomenal. Forget about the score line, forget about the 5-1, but the fact that, there was a time when Alison Anand, the Dutch coach, was actually looking worried in the first half, the way the Indian girls were going, because they had no idea what to do and they regrouped in the second half. So, coming back from three defeats and to then have your backs to the wall and still have the energy and the resolve and the self-belief to come back and make it through past the group stages and then do so well in the quarterfinals, because what usually does happen with teams who just about make it is they don't have the reserves left anymore because
Mm.
they've spent it all, just coming out of the group stages. Mind you, that didn't happen. In the quarterfinals, they were still at their best. They played the quarterfinals. It was the Australians who looked out of sorts, but in that particular match again, it was not like the proverbial underdog who managed to score a goal and are defending in numbers. It wasn't that, because a lot of lower ranked teams do that. I think the Indians took the attack to the Australians. It was the Australians who were falling short of options. They were the ones who were looking frustrated. They were the ones who were under pressure. So I think, you know, believe you me, if you have another match against Australia, it's going to be another close encounter. We may not win, but I think we've reached, that level. And again, against Argentina as well, I thought the first signs of, well, I wouldn't say fatigue, but, they looked a bit, there was a lack of creativity against Argentina, also because the Argentinians, on the day, they played a phenomenal game. I think they raised their game a bit, considering the way that the Indians were playing, because by then the Indians had this giant killer reputation. So I think they did a lot of work before the Indian game to find out how they would go at the Indians. I thought against Argentina too, we did have chances, and who knows what could have happened if we had somehow managed, pull that match into a shootout. But even so, I think the girls really deserve a pat on the back. But again, Bharat, I would say this, and I told you this in the show, in the previous show as well, that I think this team had the potential to go all the way. Getting into the quarterfinals was the tough part, but once they got into the quarterfinals, this team was capable of pretty much anything, because they did have the capacity to get past the very best. Maybe not the Netherlands, but everyone else. So
My,
they
my
did.
my expectations were a little bit low. I would have been extremely proud if they got into the quarterfinals. That was I thought if they get to the quarterfinals, that'd be an amazing achievement. I think the Australians, it seemed to me that they felt they just needed to turn up and they'd win. They were that sure of themselves because after the group stage where they'd only conceded one, won all their 5 games comfortably.
Absolutely. And if you were an Australian hockey fan, you'd really feel for them. I'm not going to say that
No,
because,
I don't.
you know, because,
Neither me.
a team that have done so well in the group stages, Australia weren't at their best 2 or 3 years back. But this Australian team, they really stepped up. They really played well in the group stages. They were looking like going all the way, and they are sent home by a team like India. I mean, that's the last thing they would have expected, because they would have looked, before the game, they would have had a look and said the Indians, they've lost 3 games. They've just about managed a backdoor entry into the quarterfinals. And is this a team who are going to actually pose a challenge for us? We don't think so. I'm sure,
Yeah.
So I think it took a while. for them to realize what was happening on the pitch. But then again, all credit to the Indians. The way they played, it was just phenomenal, and also the maturity. Bharat, the way they managed the last 15 minutes. Because now, if you're saying that the Australians thought they could have got back at any stage, well, of course they could have. Now, especially in the final 15 minutes, when they throw everything at you, and you still have the maturity to know when to actually slow down the pace of the game, and when to control the pace, when to control the possession, etc. I think that was amazing. They showed no nerves. They were not overawed. They were not overawed by the big stage one bit, even though it was the quarterfinals of the Olympics. And for me, that was what stood out.
Yeah, and I think they were so close to a medal, silver, and then a bronze, and their reaction and how devastated they were after the loss to Britain. I think that will be the biggest learning experience for this young team that they will take away from the Olympics. And I think their performance is on par with the men's, and we've said how highly we rate that performance. So hockey is in a very good position, and we've got lots to be proud of and lots to look forward to in our national game. I'll keep repeating it. I want to get that message. It's our national game, but just turning to some of the sports that we didn't get the same sort of response. I just want to start with you, Vishank. Archery, and to be fair, you called it on the previous show that if the ranking day doesn't go well for us, it's not going to go well for us for the
Exactly.
rest of the tournament.
The ranking
What went
round,
wrong for our
yeah,
medal
I
hopes?
don't know. Everything went wrong. They were lined up for a quarterfinal or a pre-quarterfinal match against the Koreans. Every match, every series, they were either eighth or ninth. I had mentioned it earlier as well. I want fourth or fifth, so that you can at least face them in the semis. But they played a pretty good in the mixed team event. Deepika and Praveen did a pretty good job against the Taipei team. I think it was their first match to win that against An and An San and another Korean archer. I forgot his name. They obviously were pushovers for the likes of Koreans, because uh, those two talented Koreans are actually one of the best archers that, in fact, the world has ever seen, including An San, who won 3 gold medals at the Tokyo Games. So again, the men's team, the quarterfinal against
Okay.
the Koreans, lost. But the thing is that it is a mental block as well. When you see Korea, you kind of feel that that's it, the end of the world. Nothing can happen after that. But Atanu proved you wrong. Atanu
Yeah.
did a brilliant job against the Olympic champion from 12 and 16, 12 and 20. Uh, so if you can beat a person like Oh Jin Hek in and make his heartbeat go, there was a very good thing from kudos to broadcasters. They were showing the heartbeats of every archer who
All
was in
right.
the individual event. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I mean, Indian archers were almost every time I saw were in the range of 180, while the Koreans were shooting at 90 odd. I was like, it's a stroll in the park for those guys. I mean, those guys are champion archers. They have been doing it since the age of 5 or 6. So to match that level, you have to have that composure. We are not bad by any means, but we are just not good enough at this point in time. And if you can see currently the World Youth Archery Championships are going on, and India is doing pretty good. Again, Korea is not there, so the hype should be a little mellowed down, because when the Koreans come against you, you have to take a back seat. You tend to get that vibe that we have to do a little better at this point in time. But the young archers are doing pretty good. They are doing a pretty great job. I wish compound archery was there in the Olympics. We are champions there with the likes of Abhishek Verma, but that is sadly not the case.
Yeah, I think it's good that yeah, I was seeing the World Championship results, and it's good that there's more talent coming through. And like
Yeah.
you said, we're not far away, but the Koreans are a different level. But just one quick point on what was your reaction to the mixed team and the last minute change?
Oh, so actually, there was no change. Actually,
Because I thought it's meant
Praveen,
to be Deepika and Atanu, but then it
no,
was
no,
Deepika and
Deepika and Praveen. Actually, there were three male archers, and the one who topped the ranking round would go into the mixed team
or
event.
is it automatic?
Yeah, it is automatic. So
Right.
Praveen topped the ranking, and he just finished a couple of spots ahead of Atanu. And Atanu was he started brilliantly in the ranking round, but he kind of fell apart in the second half. His first 36 shots were pretty good, but pretty solid 36 shots. But his next 36 shots were not at par, even at par for his standards. So he fell down, and Deepika was paired with Praveen. And again, they had a seeding of, I guess, 8 or 9. I think they were like that. So a potential quarterfinal match against Koreans, and that's what happened.
And one federation that we can applaud that usually does things well is the shooting federation. But the shooters, I mean, not one finalist.
There
Big
was
disappointment.
Saurabh was
It's
there. I
sort of
mean,
got, yeah,
yeah. Actually, I'm
big
disappointed.
disappointment.
I'm disappointed only for Saurabh because that person has given his heart out for the nation, for the tricolor. He did everything that was humanly possible. He was shooting like with rifle precision in the qualification rounds. I have never seen Saurabh have 2 9 shots in the nine, 2 shots in the nine ring, two adjacent shots in the nine ring, so as to say. But in the finals, he started with a 10 point something, 10.1, if I'm not wrong. And then he had 4 shots in the range of 9.2 to 9.6. I have never seen Saurabh. These shots, mind you, are pretty good in pistol shooting as well. When you shoot in the finals and you are in 9.5, they are not that bad. You can recover from that point. But at the Olympics, it is the competition is actually cutthroat. You cannot just come back from that point. And after the first round, where he scored 47 out of the first 5 shots, it was always the catching game for him. But uh, I mean, again, rifle shooters. I had mentioned that they were not doing good in
But we were
OEX.
expecting medals from the pistol contingent.
We were expecting from the pistol contingent, and in the mixed team event, I would be very true. I was that night I was completely sleepless because I was expecting nothing but a at least a silver medal, because the team of Manu and Saurabh, it was doing that in every World Cup. So again, false alarms, one can say, because again, if you see the qualification round or qualification round one of the mixed team event, Saurabh and Manu combinedly joined together to score, I think, 586 or something like that. It was there, and they topped the qualification round.
Yeah.
Saurabh with a mind-boggling 297. Again, in the second round, Saurabh pretty good, an average of 97, 194. But Manu actually fell apart pretty badly. Those were some of his worst shots. I think she scored a couple of eights on the trot, and there were a total of 4 or 5 eights in her 20 shots. Never seen a Manu shoot like that before. So, I mean, yeah, they are very young. The pressure of Olympics probably got to them, and this is a learning curve for all of them. But the thing with Saurabh is that I don't know where he goes from here on, because that person has actually given it his all. And if he decides to move on from the sport, I don't want that to happen. I really want him to go for 24 Paris, because he has worked all that. He has given all his life to shooting, and uh, I'm I'm actually loss of word at lots of words. I don't know what to say for Saurabh, because I still cannot comprehend the fact that after shooting so well in the cycle, and he is coming medalist from Tokyo. But hopefully he will pick up the straws, and hopefully he will come up like a true champion, like like a true champion does. I really hope, and let's see how it goes. Other than that, rifle shooters were, I think, pretty much a disappointing story. The closest that we could have come was in the last event, that was 50-meter rifle three positions, where Ashwari was shooting like a dream in the um, kneeling round, where he scored, I guess, 395 on out of 400, which is one of the more tough rounds of the three. But he faltered in the prone event, where actually you were expected to get at least 395 and above. He scored, I guess, 390 odd, 390 only, 389 or 390. I cannot remember correctly, but his ranking dropped from second to 18th. That is how he fell, how badly he fell after a poor prone round. And again, catching up job is not an easy thing to do in Olympics,
No,
especially in
but
shooting.
with Paris only 3 years away, hopefully there'll be a little bit of encouragement. You know
Yeah,
that.
they are all some 19 or 20-year-old guys. They should take this in their stride. If I have to make an analogy, na, obviously we have not brought him up till now, but uh, I would say Neeraj Chopra. Look at Neeraj Chopra. uh, I have followed his cycle from 2013, I would say. The first time I saw him crossing the 80-meter barrier, it was in 2015, 31st December, on 31st December 2015. And after that, at the South Asian Games, he threw 82.23, which was equaling the national record throw. With Rajinder Singh had thrown that mark in National Games 2015. After that, there was so much pressure on Neeraj to qualify for the Olympics, so much pressure that he participated in 10 events post this South Asian Games and the end of qualification timeline, and he was not able to breach the 80, even the 80-meter mark in any of those events. He even lost the Asian Junior Championships event that time, which was a big surprise when everyone was expecting that he will do it in Cantor. That event took place in Vietnam, and he was in Europe, training in Europe, traveling from place to place to get all that necessary competition. And all of a sudden, he was called back to Vietnam, scored a below par 77 odd meter to win a silver medal. That is the only major championships medal that he does not have, the gold medal that he does not have, and the world championships medal, obviously. And but the thing with world championship medal is that he will be able to win that medal, but Asian
Next
Junior
year.
Championship, yeah,
Absolutely.
Asian
Yeah, I
Junior
mean, you
Championship is
brought
not
up
going to.
Neeraj, and there was a lot of expectations. But he amazing, Subhashis. I don't know if you saw the javelin finals, but it was a proud moment to hear the national anthem on the Olympic stage.
Absolutely, Bharat. Especially since India winning a medal in athletics is something remarkable. It's something we really needed because yeah, I know there's archery and shooting, boxing again. We could have done better, but. For India to win a medal in athletics, I think was a phenomenal achievement. And for just the sheer focus to be on athletics with Neeraj's win, because the Indian media, Bharat, is rather strange. For people who've actually followed athletics or let's say hockey or any of the Olympic sports for years, they know what it's all about. So either you are in complete ignominy, or when you reach the medal stage, there's a frenzy of a different kind where a billion people are searching for who you are, etc. So it's either this or that. So it takes a medal for the focus to actually be on that particular person, irrespective of the fact that you may have done pretty well and not won a medal and no one would know about you. And that's, I would say, the sad part of it. But yeah, I think a medal in athletics was great. And yeah, of course, I
I,
did
I,
watch it.
I was just going to add to that. I think Neeraj's gold medal is going to be a turning point for Indian athletics. I think I can honestly see a lot of young people being motivated by his performance. The fact that he's a model in terms of his looks and what have you helps. But he's a proper poster boy for Indian athletics. That and I think he's going to do wonders for the sport. And hopefully, again we come to the federation. Hopefully, they can take advantage of this amazing performance by this one person that could change the whole sport in our country. But yeah, um, in terms of you say every single medal for a country like ours is something special because we were talking in the green room earlier that if you're an American, you get all these medals every single day. You get 7 a day, 10 a day, and we come out with seven. But every single one is very, very special. And got to mention, the Saikom Janu, Ravi Kumar Daya, PV Sindhu. What amazing performance! What
I
amazing
think
performance!
the I think PV Sindhu was the best individual performer for India
I
in the
didn't
whole of
expect a medal
Olympics.
from her. We put her down, but I thought it would be very, very tough for her to
No,
get a
no,
medal.
yeah, I had actually said that she doesn't lose two matches in a row. So she has never done that. If she passes the Akane hurdle, then she will be medaling at the Tokyo Olympics, and that is what she did. Tai Tzu Ying was again going to be very difficult. That
Yeah,
again, yeah. So
it was
uh,
comfortable for the Taiwanese.
yeah, it was pretty difficult for PV to breach that barrier when she has defeated Tai Tzu in the Olympics at 2016
Mm.
and the World Championships as well when she eventually went on to win a gold medal. So the thing with that was that her mental block, that Tai Tzu Ying's thing was only a mental block. She is a far better shuttler. She is the best shuttler I think I've ever seen, and the most underrated shuttler I would say Tai Tzu Ying is. Again went the Lee Chong Wei way to win a silver medal, and
Yeah,
I think it is probably her last Olympics as per media reports. I really wish that she comes so that there's a healthy competition in badminton around in women's singles because after Tai Tzu Ying, you do not have a lot of shuttlers with that deception quality. PV Sindhu deserves a pat on her back. She has only lost two games in the whole of Olympics, and those two games were quite expected. The loss, kind of, so as to say, was quite expected against Tai Zwing. But against He Bingjiao, again bringing her A game, He Bingjiao before this encounter led 9-6 against PV Sindhu. But PV Sindhu has actually, in her last encounter, you could see the glimpses of PV Sindhu bringing her attacking game into the fray. She has been Her attacking game has been improving leaps and bounds since this new Korean coach Park. I mean, he has worked on his attacking game. He has worked on her stamina as well. She's a much better and a much fitter shuttler at this point in time, and I think from here on till Paris, I think sky is the limit for her. She can actually go on and win that, become the first Indian to win three medals at the Olympics, and uh, I really back her to do that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
with
incredible performance. But just through
Yeah,
you two and through this medium, if you see any of the 115 odd athletes anywhere paying by credit card, make sure you tap on their behalf and get the message out into the country that they should tap on because what they do for our country and what joy they bring to us. But you have to, also mention Bajrang, fantastic performance. We're a little bit unlucky, but he came
yeah,
out with a
yeah.
medal.
The
He still
story of what could have been was
exactly.
happening. Yeah.
But
Um,
I also have to give a shout out to Aditi in the golf.
oh my.
To come from where she's ranking about 200 to last
Again,
hole.
I mean, I said it in the previous show as well. I see her in the top 10 because she has that experience from Rio. She was among top 10 in the first 2 days. She has that glorious talent of putting the ball at the
She
uh,
owns the greens.
yeah, at the greens. Yeah, exactly. So uh, I mean, when you have that kind of experience at your behind your head or in your at the back of your mind, you can actually build upon those things. That what went wrong exactly at that point. She was -6 after 2 days, and then she went +2 after the third day. At a horrendous third day at Rio. But this time around, again. After 2 days, I was a little jittery if she can manage it for the third day. Again, at the third day, she was at the second position at -12, and that was incredible. And she had 4 classic days of women's golf. Even the Lydia Ko and the gold medalist name I forgot from US. Yeah,
Yeah.
they had
Oh, she's
up and
number
down.
one.
Yeah, she's world number one.
Yeah, yeah.
They had up and down days. She
But
had -9 day as well. She had a day where she scored had a under par of 9. Lydia Ko again -6 on the final day. So, but Aditi had a very consistent round of days, and I think she deserves a lot of credit
100%. And
for her achievement.
I hope this also propels her to improve her rankings and her performance in
Yeah, she has actually
the
jumped
tour.
40 odd places.
Yeah, because amazing performance. It was like winning a medal. But other sports that did well, Avinash and the 4x400 relay broke national records
Oh my
in
God, I was
athletics.
very excited.
Bhavani
Yeah,
Devi, first win,
was
first
very.
fencer. She wins the first round as well.
Yeah.
Manika Batra getting to the third round of table tennis. Sumit with his win against the in the first round. Anshu in the wrestling. Future is really bright for Anshu as
Mm,
well, I think.
yeah,
So
Anshu
a
could
lot
have
of
done better. Mm.
yeah, but she's young enough. She's young enough.
Yeah,
She'll
she
learn,
does.
and that's what we've been saying for a lot of these sports. But overall, Subhashish, out of 10, how do you rank our Olympics? We've got we sent the biggest contingent in the most number of sports. Hockey medal came home after 40 odd years. How do you rate out of 10 in terms of the overall performance of the Indian contingent?
I think Bharat, there were certain sports in which I felt we exceeded expectations. There were a lot of sports in which we did not match up to expectations. We did not match up to expectations. I thought, as far as archery is concerned, boxing, even with Lavlina, and also shooting, perhaps that was made up by the fact that the hockey team did pretty well. So. I would put the overall performance in terms of how we've done in the past, what was expected, and etc. I would put India's performance at somewhere around 7.
Vishank?
Uh, I'm not that great. Who am I to judge those guys? They are giving their blood and sweat to the nation, and but I think there are quite a few learnings for the shooting team, for the archery team again, for the wrestling team as well. I think wrestling. I was expecting a far better performance from the female wrestlers. I mean, um, the likes of Anshu and Vinesh, they
Mm.
should have done a little better than what they did. With Vinesh, actually, the thing is that again you hear a lot of articles coming around, and that pains me a lot. When the thing with Simone, when we yeah, when you are comparing yourself with Simone Biles came out in public domain with her issues during the Olympics. She didn't wait for the Olympics to end, and had she told these things at the time of Olympics or going before going to Olympics, we could have understood what she is going through. But now coming with those statements, it actually for me is not the kind of attitude that I would say she should be having. She should take it in her stride again. She didn't lose to a better opponent at first place. She has to understand that. She has to get that right, that she didn't lose to a better opponent. She lost because she was underconfident. And again, other sports like boxing, a couple of decisions here and there. I think Satish Kumar was the standout for me. He gave his heart out against Jalalov. I was not expecting. I was expecting a TKO or RSC kind of contest against Jalalov, but he showed that metal that an army man has, that power that an army man possesses. Overall, shooting, archery, boxing, wrestling, they were quite quite a huge disappointment for me. Even athletics to an extent was a disappointment for me because I was expecting Kamalpreet also to win a medal. And if you would have seen her last attempt that went out of bounds, that throw, I have just played it on slow motion a couple of times. I was seeing it was over 66 meters. Just that, just that inside the sector, she had she been just inside that sector, she would have a medal against her neck on her neck as well. Race walkers did a brilliant
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
Priyanka was phenomenal in her. She challenged the leaders back till I think 10, 11 kilometers, and without showing a lot of fatigue, so as to say. So all in all, there are sports where we should have done better, and there are sports where we did better. I mean, where we exceeded expectations, like golf, even hockey. I would say the kind of attitude they have shown. So yeah, I think there are a lot of learnings, and the crop that is coming up should be they should be told, or they should be reminded of the fact, not reminded of the fact that this is Olympics. They should be told that this is just another tournament. This is not Olympics. आपको कोई 150 करोड़ रुपए नहीं मिलेगा इंडियन गवर्नमेंट से, then they will do well. Otherwise, if you bring in all that pressure of money and stuff at the start of the Olympics, there is no chance anyone is going. They are anyways. You just expect. You can imagine a person whose father is earning 30,000 rupees per month or 40,000 rupees per month, and you tell him that if you win a gold medal at the Olympics, and we will pay you 10 crore rupees, they're going to falter in that situation any which way. So these should things should be refrained from. The government should refrain from these things if they have to, if they need to have those rich haul of medals the next time around, because we potentially can win more than 20 medals at the Paris Olympics. But just the right attitude, the right kind of attitude is required. We probably lost out on 4 or 5 medals at the Tokyo Olympics. I can pretty much uh, count them as well. I mean, this Vinicius loss. It was a heartbreaking loss. She was expected to go through to the final rounds, and Aditi. I mean, she did a brilliant job, but I mean, she lost
So
out
very close,
just
yeah.
by just centimeters, so as to say, if you could say that way. And
Deepak
yeah,
was close in the wrestling.
yeah, again, yeah,
Yeah.
Deepak lost. He that is, I think that is the easiest bronze Olympic
I
medal
thought so as
that he could
well.
have.
Yeah. Who would have thought
He had
losing
a
to somebody from San Marino? But there you go. That's what the
yeah.
Olympics is all
The,
about. But for
the
me,
luck of the draw was with him. Yeah,
yeah. But biggest medal haul, biggest contingent that we sent. A lot of
But also,
prospects.
Bharat, sorry, since Shang mentioned the point about the money, it's a bit funny because not so long ago there was a lot of talk in the Indian media that the incentives were not strong enough, and saying that the government went offering enough incentives. Do I agree? Say with that finance isn't incentive enough, or it raises pressure perhaps. But I think just to make a point, that I think there is far too much focus on the ones who've actually won the medals, as opposed
right.
to, let's say, the ones who put in that effort and haven't. And that is something that the Indian media just doesn't seem to understand. There's too much focus on the ones who brought home the medals. There's not so much focus on performance, and why, let's say, someone has done so well but have faltered against better opponents, etc. Not enough analysis of that, which I think needs to
Again,
improve.
And
I
I,
would
I
totally
absolutely
agree with.
agree because when you think about it, and we said it in our previous show, Visank, that all these 115 athletes have already won by
Yeah,
qualifying
they have
because
qualified.
they've jumped over so many barriers to get to the Olympics. So they've already won. And that was why I said earlier that, if you see any of the 115 athletes, not just the seven medalists, but if you see any of the 115 athletes, tap for them as well.
Yeah, they actually deserve a pat on the back. They have done a great job qualifying at first place. But again, a valid point by Devashish
Subhashish.
that Subhashish, that the thing is that uh, there is a lot of focus on the people who have won medals. Lavlina Borgohain is a two-time World Championship bronze medalist, but how many of us knew about her before the Olympics or before she won a medal, so as to say. So these kind of things are uh, pretty. Indian media needs to realize that who their actual heroes are. They have to really push like a sort of ignite their uh, they you have to back your athletes because they have the potential, but if they are not getting that recognition, they will eventually falter. So you have to recognize your athletes. You have to just say that yeah, these are potential medal prospects because they have actually first they have qualified for the Olympics, coming through huge barriers and all these things in their life. So these things need to be realized. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the main thing is the trajectory is going upwards. I think that's one thing we can all agree with. And I think it'll take another show, probably an hour-long show, to talk about the finances and how the government could do things a lot better in terms of financing. I think they're doing a brilliant job because you can see the number of athletes have qualified. You can see the various programs. Vishank, you mentioned the Kelo Games, the Kello Youth Games, University Games. So you can see, that all of those programs take time to produce the results, but at
Yeah.
least they're in place. And Hockey Federation, despite the federation, the team is in an upward trajectory, and has been for a while. So there's a lot to look forward to and be proud of. And I want to do I was going to speak on this show, but I'll probably do another half-hour show sometime in the next week or two, because I want to highlight the Paralympics, and we're sending our largest contingent again. And you mentioned the focus is never on the other sports outside cricket. The focus is definitely not on the Paralympics and our 54 Olympians who are going to represent the country. And Subhashish, you quite rightly mentioned that, does anybody know the medalists from Rio? We had two gold medalists. Does anybody remember their
Yeah.
names?
No.
Um, and the fact that I was saying that even in terms of the media, I think it's Eurosport India that's covering the Paralympics, not any of the major sports channels, tells you a
Yes,
lot.
it's Doordarshan. That's the national. It's Doordarshan. That's of course the government service, and it's also Eurosports. So that's it.
Yes,
I
for
mean,
them.
Yeah. And, just like this Olympics, we're sending the largest number. They're going to be in 9 sports. They're going to be
Oh,
bringing laurels to our
so
country, and they
I'm
did.
expecting a double of medals that our Olympians have brought. I'm expecting almost 10 to 14 medals from these guys. They are brilliant. Some of them legendary status of Devendra Jajaria. Who doesn't know him? I mean, everyone should know him, but
Yeah,
who knows him is the
exactly.
other thing. Yeah,
Two-time gold
so
medalist, absolutely.
uh, world record holder, everything he has under his belt. Amit Saroha, then we have Sandeep in javelin F44, if I remember correctly. So there are a lot of athletes. The Mariyappan Thangavelu, Sharad Kumar, and Varun Singh Bhati are there. They can potentially be a 1, 2, 3 for India. You never know. They are so good. I mean, we need to back our Paralympians as much as we do our Olympians, or as much as we do our cricket team, so as to say, because they are the ones who are actually putting in all those hard yards despite all those disabilities. So you need to give a shout out to them. We need to back them the way we have backed our Olympians for that fortnight. Just one more fortnight for our Paralympians. Uh, I was in the hindsight. I was thinking, why not have Paralympics before the Olympics? So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that
As a build-up,
would have been,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah. So that the festive season is happens in a much better way, because after Olympics the hangover is Olympics hangover is so much that you tend to forget all the Paralympians. So
yeah,
it will be a much better thing that if they have Paralympics before Olympics.
yeah. It is
Mm,
usually uh, an
yeah,
afterthought,
there are
isn't
a
it?
lot of, yeah,
Yeah.
even shooting and badminton. We have a lot of medal prospects. Pramod Bhagat is there. Is one more guy. I'm very bad with names. I mean, what to do, but
Mm.
yeah. So the thing is that there are a lot of hopes that at the Paralympics, and we need to back them. We have to back them this time around because they are going to. Uh, uh, we will hear national anthem for a couple of at least couple of more times in Tokyo in coming weeks.
That is really good to hear, and it's always good to hear the national anthem as well.
Yeah,
But it's been absolutely fantastic speaking to both of you. Paris is 3 years away, but I'm definitely going to pester both of you to come on the show a lot more regularly and keep the focus on other sports apart from cricket and football, which I normally do. We've got a big year ahead next year with the Asian Games, Commonwealth Games, the Athletic World Championships, the Hockey Pro League will be happening as well. And we've got the Youth World Cup Subashis as well this year to look forward to. And again, I'm expecting high hopes for my team there, but I'm sure we'll speak regularly as well. But I can't thank you both enough for taking time out in the previous show on this show. It's been absolutely fascinating for me and incredible insight. And like I said, hopefully we can speak on a more regular basis about not only our national game but other sports.
Absolutely, Bharat. Thanks so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Vishank, you take care as well, and
thank you, but thank you so much for calling me over again. I wish all the best to you too, and let's continuously support our Indian athletes in making India a great nation in sports.
yeah, and
It's a great nation, and we need to make a great nation in sports as well. We are the kind of people who need to back our athletes and help them.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think we'll have a show on how we can do that in our humble opinion as well. Brilliant. Have a brilliant rest of the day and week, and hopefully I'll speak to you soon. Take care, both. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much.
Bharat.